Okay, welcome everybody to the March 18th, 2025 Bellevue City Council meeting. Thank you for being here. I hope you had a good St. Patrick's Day. Tonight's kind of an exciting meeting. It's not very often that we have an opening to fill on the council, and we will be doing that tonight, and I will talk about it in greater detail further into the meeting. But let's start with the roll call. City Clerk?
Mayor Robinson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Malakutian.
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Neuenhouse.
Here.
Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
And Councilmember Zahn.
Okay, could you join me, please, in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have agenda approval, but I believe there is going to be amendments. So Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
I move to approve the agenda amended to add an item after the executive session to discuss the qualifications of candidates and potentially take action on an appointment to City Council Position 5.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City Clerk, we're going to do oral communications. And I just want to say that we have candidates in the audience today who will be interviewed later. And our rules only allow 3 comments, 2 for or against an item on the agenda, which means you cannot speak 3 times for each candidate. You can only speak 3 times in favor of an agenda item or against. And that's not really fair for our candidates. So I'm going to ask that you can public comment on the process, but not on the candidates individually, please. I also don't want to open it up for any negative comments because you get 3 for and 3 against, and you know there's lots of different kinds of people at our meetings and online. So I hope that you will respect that. And with that, City Clerk, let's start with our oral comms.
Thank you, Mayor. So this evening, there are 8 pre-registered speakers on our list. So as the mayor started stating some of the rules, I'll go over a few of the others that the council has in place. So oral communications is for a period of no more than 30 minutes, and all topics must relate to City of Bellevue government. People speaking to items on tonight's agenda will be called first, and then if time remains, people speaking to items not on tonight's agenda will be called. In both of those categories, the presiding officer is authorized to give preference to those who have not spoken to council within the last 60 days, or who will be speaking on items that will come in front of the council within the next 60 days. Each speaker is allowed up to 3 minutes to speak, and as the mayor said, a maximum of 3 people are permitted to speak to any one side of a particular topic. And tonight we do have 4 speakers pre-registered for the candidate interview, so we will only be able to hear from the first 3. So with that, I'll call our first speaker, who is Johnny Liu.
Would prefer that you didn't, but you may speak to the process or just tell us about you.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak here, and I appreciate the change in process right before I come up here. So, my name is Johnny Liu. I'm a resident of Newport Hills. I'm on the Planning Commission, and more importantly, I am a hometown Bellevue kid that really wants to see us thrive under good leadership. So I guess adjusting my previously prepared comments, I really think that importantly for this position, there has to be this blend of technical ability to understand cities, the issues that the city is facing, especially as we see kind of unprecedented growth throughout the entire region. So I think that's one really key component as you're evaluating these candidates is the technical know-how to understand how planning, how transportation all weave into your assessment. I think the second thing I'd love to see is a collaborative nature and the ability to work well and kind of this proven ability to work well with other commissioners. We've seen moments of both really good collaboration, also moments of tension. And I think that there are, as you're evaluating candidates, I really implore you to look at the ones where they have proven themselves to work well with others at the city level within the organizations that we've set up here already. I guess the third thing that I really push for is really fair leadership. You know, we have a number of very, very different, very disparate groups that are working within Bellevue. They all have different agenda items. We all have to find balance. And that's really, really tough for each and every single one of you up on the dais. So, you know, I think finding a candidate who can exemplify all those leadership qualities, as well as the ability to, you know, weave in collaboratively with all of you, and also exercise the technical ability that I think we want to see in a council member. I really just implore you as you look at candidates to bring all those three together. So can't say who exactly I support, but thank you for listening to my assessment.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bill Finkbeiner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Like Johnny, I'm also a little caught off guard, but I absolutely understand why you've made that decision, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to just speak just real quickly to your planning commission. It's a great bunch of folks who do a really, really good job. I've gone to more planning commission meetings in the last few years than I ever thought I would. And it's kind of like watching the work that you do here. It's really difficult. It's difficult issues, or they wouldn't be having to make the decision in front of them. They take it very seriously. They regularly meet, you know, till late at night, and they just work very well together. They've really been able to build a sort of a process and a culture of respecting each other while still disagreeing and being able to come to a consensus and drive to conclusion. And I've just been so impressed, the same way I've been impressed in watching all of you up here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Anthony McKay, who's joining us virtually. Mr. McKay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time begins now.
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you, Madam Mayor, thank you, Council, for all that you do for Bellevue. I think being on the City Council is an incredibly important position. It's a decision that you're going to have to take carefully, I appreciate. As a former Bellevue Essentials alumni, I've gotten to know a lot about the city, which I love and am incredibly passionate about. I think to echo both gentlemen that came before me, they're right. We need the city to choose someone who is invested in the city, who has a deep understanding of how the city runs, how the city works. I know that there are a number of people that are, and the 5 finalists are very passionate and all very talented people. I would love to see the city choose someone that will increase the diversity of the city council, and someone who is passionately involved in making city life better for all community members within Bellevue. I'm sorry, I missed the very beginning. I'm not sure if anything was said around being able to say whether
We
I
ask
prefer or have
that we not mention candidates. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. So yeah, I'm sure that you'll make the right decision. There are candidates that have a lot of experience, that they come with experience from a business background, from community service backgrounds, and I'm sure that that you will take all of these things into account. The 5 finalists are very talented people. It was really interesting reading their letters, and I wish you all the very best for the decision, and look forward to seeing who it is that you nominate to take over and fill the very big shoes of Councilmember Zahn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that was our third speaker in support of the council interview process. We did have one additional pre-registered person to speak on that, and there may be others who wanted to speak, so I would just encourage those to write to council@bellevue.gov. Our next speaker on the list is Steve Fantle.
All right, good evening. I'm Steve Fantle, 30-year Bellevue resident and founder of the grassroots volunteer group Bellevue Green and Clean. Our mission is to build community pride and engagement through environmental stewardship. We conduct scheduled and ad hoc litter cleanups at high-need areas throughout the city. We participate in both the City of Bellevue's Adopt a Street and WashDOT's Adopt a Highway programs. On our Facebook group, I share news and information related to litter control, recycling, waste reduction, and greener living. While I'm proud to have been a driving force behind the creation of the Keep Bellevue Beautiful program within the city government, I feel that the promise of its positive impact is falling somewhat short of its potential. There's a distinct difference between looking good and doing good. The abandoned shopping cart retrieval initiative needs to be more functionally efficient and cost-effective. The current process, as I understand it, could mean up to 3 weeks between the time that carts are reported using the My Bellevue app until the vendor attempts to retrieve them, at which time many of them may have already been moved. After 3 years, the cost of the program should be shared by the affected businesses, not solely borne by the taxpayers. Keep Bellevue Beautiful rolled out with a series of neighborhood cleanup events. These were followed by the much anticipated Adopt a Street program last summer. While the data shows a very robust 58 different individuals or groups adopting streets, a closer look reveals that over 80% of the bags collected have come from only 4 adopters, none of which were recruited by Keep Bellevue Beautiful. To my knowledge, KBB has not sent any emails or newsletters to the adopters to encourage more participation. While the Adopt a Street outreach has been very effective, the follow-up and results could do better. I have several suggestions to increase the positive impact of Keep Bellevue Beautiful, along with offers of volunteer assistance to reduce any additional burden on staff. These include my suggestion to KBB to partner with Parks and Transportation to pick up collected bags of litter upon request so people don't have to drive the stinky bags home in their cars. My offer to facilitate a dialogue between KBB, the Bellevue Downtown Association, and the Downtown Bellevue Residents Association to develop a litter control plan for downtown, including an inventory of existing trash containers. My offer to partner with Bellevue Green and Clean on a grant from Keep America Beautiful's Cigarette Litter Prevention Program. Co-sponsoring the placement of my self-serve cleanup pop-up litter cleanup kit, it's a mouthful, outside of the City Hall, utilizing grant money available through the Washington State Department of Ecology's Ramp Litter Cleanup Program, and encouraging Adopt a Street participants through targeted communication and social media. I and others in the community are very grateful for the Keep Bellevue Beautiful program, and we want to see it continue to grow and to be impactful, and we are willing to help. And thank you very much, and have a very happy Global Recycling Day.
Thank you. Our next speaker on the list is Galen Helmgren, who is joining us virtually. Mr. Helmgren, can you hear me? Mr. Helmgren, can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to circle back to you. I'm going to go to our next speaker, who's Sue Johnson, who is also joining us virtually. Ms. Johnson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Your time begins now.
Okay. Good evening, council members. I'm Sue Johnson, a lifelong resident. Has the world run amok? In a word, yes. And we know why. The culprit is us. Human response, widespread indifference. Why do so many people care so little in the face of planetary changes that reshape the lives of our grandchildren? In the end, we will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. We need to start now to make wise decisions for the health of our planet. Everything we do matters. It matters a great deal. Butterfly populations are down 22%. The numbers for all pollinators are down. How can we help? We can help by preserving our green spaces. Airfield Park is a beautiful green space and wildlife corridor linking Robbinswood and Weona Parks. It is a testament to our forward thinking and a lasting legacy for future residents in our wonderful city of Bellevue, our city in a park. We realize before many other cities the importance of green spaces. We know how nature can heal us, lowering blood pressure, improving oxygen levels, and fostering feelings of well-being. Green spaces are not undeveloped land. They are not spaces waiting to be covered in concrete and asphalt with a few token trees saved as the soil is compacted unhealthily around them. This particular green space, Airfield Park, is an amazing example of nature's ability to heal. A gorgeous meadow currently covers what was once a toxic landfill. We are now realizing the importance of meadows. Meadows are essential. Airfield Park is not undeveloped land. It is home to hundreds of birds. It is home to countless insects, plants, amphibians, and microorganisms. There is no problem with Airfield Park now. It serves its community very well. If ground is broken, if the meadow, which is nature's Band-Aid, is removed, many, many problems will arise and costs will overrun. Mistakes will be made. Removing toxic soil, transporting it, and then taking it to where exactly? Every step of this procedure exposes us to injury and resultant litigation. We are causing a problem and then spreading it to other locations. Again, currently there is no problem with Airfield Park and very little cost. Please go to Airfield Park, close your eyes, and listen to the birdsong. Breathe deeply the air. Feel your heart lower. Once this is gone, it's gone forever. We can't do what nature does. We can't fix a former landfill, but we can certainly make it a lot worse. I'll end with a short poem if I have time.
Your time has actually expired. I
Okay,
apologize.
I'm very sorry. Okay,
Okay,
thank you so much.
The next speaker on our list is Paul Rude.
Greetings, Council. Paul Rude, Bellevue, 35 years. 20 years ago, after reaching out to the City of Bellevue numerous times, I commented to a police officer that I've never seen a government so dissociated from the average citizen. Since then, I've come to understand that Bellevue Council members are elected at large, that I really have no representation in Bellevue City government. I pay taxes, I want representation. I appreciate this oral communication segment of these meetings, but my ability to speak here on a subject of concern is on a lottery basis. You listen politely, but never dialogue. Case in point, I spoke here 10 September last year and have heard nothing back. Council, I've done my part. Over the last 20 years, I've reached out to your staff, top to bottom, police, code compliance, building official, lawyers, city manager, city council members, and various mayors. None of your staff will act or take any initiative unless they know they have the support and direction from council. I can read the law right to them with no result. If you don't care, they don't care. Having appealed to your staff, I need a mechanism for an audience with the city council that includes real-time dialogue, back and forth, conversation. If you have better information than I do, I need to hear it. If I have better information than you do, you need to hear it. As it is, it appears to me that you're doing whatever is easiest for your staff without regard for the citizens. Regarding voting, I spoke at the candidate forum. Several of you have done the exact opposite of what you indicated you would do at that forum. Council, in the interest of a more livable city and establishing representative government in Bellevue, I want a meeting with the 7 of you or 6 of you to petition you in person to obtain redress for my grievance. Will you schedule a meeting with me?
Are you done with your comment? Do you have any more thing you want to say?
Yeah, that was the question outstanding.
When you're completely done, I will address the clerk and get you some information if you're ready.
Thank you.
Okay, so City Clerk, would you please let Mr. Rude know council members' hours and help them understand he has to meet with us individually and make it so he knows how to make an appointment with us so that he can sit down and have a face-to-face with us. All right, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. The final speaker on our pre-registered list, I'll circle back to Mr. Helmgren. Mr. Helmgren, can you hear me? Mr. Helmgren, there should be a prompt on your phone or your computer. Okay. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to be unable to hear from Mr. Helmgren. I would encourage you to email your comments to the council, and the address is council@bellevuewa.gov. And with that, we do still have a couple of minutes left of oral communications. As we discussed earlier, we have reached a maximum number of speakers on the candidate interviews, but if you have a different topic you would like to address to the council, please raise your hand. Mr. Halverson, come ahead.
I think I did sign in, but I needed a lot of help, so it probably didn't get through.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good evening. I want to thank you for your recent proposal concerning reducing public disorders in Bellevue. Public safety is the city's #1 priority and certainly a concern of citizens. This proposal provides a cornerstone. The council direction was, 1, to provide more research, and 2, to return in 6 months after a community court is up and running. I would like to make a couple of suggestions to help move this proposal forward. It is important that we get further data from Marysville and other cities, including statistics, increasing the sample size and statistics over a period of time. Thank you. It too would be very worthwhile to note how many offenses we have had in Bellevue that are non-Bellevue residents. Also, as difficult as it may be, seem to get, it would be good to determine how many unreported thefts there are in Bellevue. This will provide a more balanced assessment and tracking this proposal, termed enforcement, but actually it's preventative. The current report is very confined to offenders. The next report should be expanded to include victims, Bellevue citizens, and businesses. Actually, this is where the real expense and benefit exists. The city has spent a lot of money researching projects like Grand Connection, DEI, personnel placement, etc. This slight proposal expansion would not cost very much money. One thought would be to take the research that was done and many letters that you received and do further research into them, thereby providing a greater degree of transparency and validity to the proposal. Another ask is to have the draft or even proposed completed form done within 90 to 120 days. 6 months is a long time, especially contingent upon a potential community court, which even if passed, our attorneys say is not duplicative. In driving here from Bridle Trails, I noticed yet another shopping cart and 20 new shoe boxes strewn over the 520 and Northeast 24th. While at Fred Meyer, I walked by a checker at the door, noted unfilled shelves, glass fronted and locked cabinets and merchandise, even large containers of Tide. Can you imagine that? And a paid-for security guard at the door when I left. This is a scene we are all too familiar with, grown accustomed to, and maybe accepted. But we need to remember that you and I pay for stolen property and security in every one of these grocery stores. Grocery inflation. Sound familiar? And maybe we pay the ultimate price someday as Safeway, Bartell's, or QFC decides to close. We all know there is no one solution for preventing crime. Our police are doing a great job, but many of us, citizens, businesses, and maybe even third-time criminals, believe there is no justification for passively waiting 6 months. I assure you, there's no one in Bridle Trails believes that passing this proposal shows no confidence in our prosecutors or police, not even a hint of it. Instead, it is just the opposite. Instead, it is the shout out of confidence and support for their efforts by providing
Mr.
us
Halverson.
with the
You've come to
tools
the
needed
end
and
of your
reducing.
time.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
that's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you very much for protecting us and keeping us safe.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals joining us this evening who would like to speak? Okay, Mayor, I don't see any additional hands. I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Next up, we have the report of our city manager. Thank you, Mayor.
Council members, tonight, under the city manager's report, very pleased to provide an update on our Keep Bellevue Beautiful program. The program was created under as part of the Safe, Clean, and Vibrant City Initiative with the council's adoption of your 23-24 budget. And I want to thank the members of the community, many members of the community, whose passion and participation in the program has been excellent. And thank all of the council members as well for your various participation in the KBB activities. I do want to recognize Councilmember Neuenhuis for being a very early advocate of the program, and also going the extra mile and signing up with his family to adopt a street segment. So tonight we're joined by Mark Heilman, our neighborhood outreach manager, and Serena Miller, the Keep Bellevue Beautiful coordinator, who does much of the work for this program. They're both from community development, and they're here to give you an update tonight.
Good evening. Mayor Robinson and council members, Serena and I appreciate the opportunity this evening to share with you an update on the Keep Bellevue Beautiful program. We're glad to share the successes that the community is beginning to achieve in keeping Bellevue streets clean and safe, to highlight the strong partnerships that we're building with residents, businesses, and organizations, and to share some upcoming events as well. Tonight's presentation is for information only. Keep Bellevue Beautiful was launched in 2023 and focuses on 3 key components: litter cleanup events, bringing the community members together to beautify our city; the Adopt a Street volunteer program, which empowers many times new volunteers to clean their local streets; and abandoned shopping cart retrieval, which reduces the number of carts in the public right-of-way. Each of these efforts contributes to making Bellevue a cleaner, more welcoming place for everyone. Since August of 2023, Keep Bellevue Beautiful has held 13 cleanup events, which have averaged 36 participants and 20 to 30 bags of trash removed from the right-of-way, including this recent event by the Bellevue Essentials class of 2024. These events have included over 100 youth and provided an opportunity to gather neighbors in service together and to explain and promote the Adopt a Street volunteer program.
Good evening. Beyond city organized events, we've seen incredible support from businesses and community groups. Amazon hosted a cleanup event with 102 employee volunteers. Visa also organized a team cleanup in 2024. Looking ahead to 2025, we are seeing increased interest from companies wanting to host Earth Day cleanups. In 2024, a new partnership was developed with the Bellevue Probation Work Crew Program. This initiative allows probation participants to complete supervised litter cleanups about twice a month on 35 designated routes. In 2024, this partnership program removed 39 bags of litter. The biggest success in 2024 was the launch of the Adopt a Street program in July. We are thrilled with the enthusiasm we've seen so far and are excited to grow the program even more in 2025. As of this month, 60 individuals, families, businesses, and organizations have signed up for the Adopt a Street program. We meet with each adopter and provide them with supplies and support their volunteer engagement. Sarah from Maidenbauer Center and Visit Bellevue shared with us, as an organization, we were looking for ways to support our local community and help keep Bellevue beautiful when I came across the Adopt a Street program. While we are waiting for warmer weather to conduct our first cleanup in 2025, we had an amazing experience with it in 2024. We had over 20 team members participate, and we had a blast working together on this. The 60 adopter groups are picking up at least 4 times a year, and some of our adopters are even picking up on a daily basis. Their adopted streets cover a current total of 48.56 miles of city right-of-way, which you can see here and on the online Adopt a Street web map. This map does not include the 35 routes covered by partnership with probation. Adopt a Street groups are in each of the city's 16 neighborhood areas, and we are adding groups on a regular basis. Listed here are the number of adopters in each neighborhood area. The 60 adopter groups include 15 businesses, 13 community groups, and 32 individuals and families. These Adopt a Street groups have picked up 381 bags through this month, and we update the report on their cleanups online about twice a month. In 2025, we're putting a focus on engaging businesses and continuing to work with neighborhood associations to promote volunteer opportunities. We are grateful for all of the community volunteers that are contributing in a variety of effective ways. Since launching in April of 2023, the Shopping Cart Retrieval Program has removed and returned 5,788 carts to retailers. In 2024, 2,838 carts were retrieved through reports submitted on the My Bellevue app and our contracted vendors' weekly sweeps. This program helps keep public areas clear, improves accessibility, and the overall appearance of our city. There will be additional pickups by the vendor each week beginning in May of this year. Upcoming events include an Earth Day Adopt a Street focus, encouraging adopters to host spring cleanup events in their adopted area. We will also provide cleanup supplies for residents who haven't yet adopted a street. Also, the city is again hosting an Earth Fest event on April 19th at the Bellevue Botanical Garden. Additionally, we will host 2 Signature Streets cleanup events on Saturday, May 17th and Saturday, September 13th.
Keep Bellevue Beautiful continues to grow and is making a tangible difference in our community's environment. Our first-time volunteers and folks that have volunteered for quite a while and are wonderful advocates, corporate partners, city staff, and you as City Council have all played a very vital role in these beginning One City efforts. Thank you for being part of this great community effort that is keeping our streets clean and safe for our community. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much. Great presentation. Is that it, City Manager?
Yes, that's the end of the report tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so up next is our council business and new initiatives, and we will be doing interviews tonight. I know it seems kind of interesting to have the council selecting the new council member, but you get your turn in November. So whoever gets appointed will be up for election in November, and the public will be voting. So this evening, we'll be conducting interviews of the 5 finalists for City Council position number 5, which is expected to be vacated by Council Member Zahn later this month. We have the finalists here with us today, and I want to thank each of them for your interest. Really appreciate all the work you did for your applications and all the qualifications that you have and the investment you have in the community really showed through. So thank you all. Before we get started, we're going to talk about the logistics. Interviews are going to be conducted individually, while the remaining candidates will be asked to wait in a separate room. And Michelle Luce will be, I don't know, where is Michelle? Oh, there you are, back there. You will be guiding the candidates in and out for the interviews. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes to provide an opening statement, and then an additional 12 minutes to respond to 4 questions, which will be asked by the council members. Staff will escort candidates from the waiting room to council chambers when it is their time to be interviewed. And after all 5 interviews have been conducted, we will have a study session item, and the council will recess to executive session to discuss the qualifications of those who are interviewed. As noted earlier, we have amended the agenda this evening to add a discussion item and a potential action on the appointment after the executive session. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the city clerk to announce the order of interviews and provide a few additional details. Go ahead.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So just prior to this evening's meeting, I did randomly place the candidates or the finalists into an order. So the following order: Vishal Bhargava, Claire Sumadewaria, Diala Ezzeddine, Jaskran Singh Sarao, and then Eric Drever. So as the mayor noted, the total time is 15 minutes, with approximately 3 minutes spent for an opening statement, and then the remaining time dedicated to answering the 4 questions. I'll be the timekeeper, and I'll let you know when you have approximately 5 minutes remaining, and then I'll let you know when your time is up. There is a clock on the table for you to reference for your own reference. So since the candidates are all still with us in council chambers, I'd ask Mr. Bhargava, who will be going first, to make yourself comfortable at the table and get situated. And then I'll ask Ms. Luce to take the rest of the candidates to the waiting room. Great, Ms. Imperial is bringing water. And with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you to begin the interview.
Okay, I'm going to wait for our other candidates to find their space. Welcome, Mr. Bhargava. You will be invited to do an opening statement for 3 minutes, and then council will take turns asking questions. Question number 1 will be Councilmember Stokes. Question number 2 will be Councilmember Neuenhuis. Question number 3 will be Councilmember Hamilton, and question number 4 will be Councilmember Lee. And I think that we're all set here, so is the timer ready? Okay, go ahead, thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Robinson, Deputy Mayor Malkuchian, and council members. I want to start by thanking each of you for giving me the chance to present my credentials to you tonight. I'm really honored to be considered for a possible appointment to the City Council. Having dedicated my career to urban planning, technology, and community services, I believe my experience and vision align with the needs of our city. Bellevue is an extraordinary city, a thriving economy that is welcoming and inclusive. And as we continue to grow to be an regional economic leader, we must ensure prosperity reaches all our residents. My vision is a Bellevue that embraces innovation, prioritizes affordability, fosters economic opportunity, and enhances the quality of life for all residents. This means smart investments in infrastructure and policies that keep our communities safe and vibrant. At its core, Bellevue must remain a city that must balance growth with community well-being. We should strive for a future where our neighborhoods remain welcome and diverse, and transportation networks keep pace with demand. And businesses continue to thrive, and where people of all backgrounds and income levels can afford to live, work, and raise their families. As an immigrant and a parent of 2 kids who are going through Bellevue's public school system, I've experienced firsthand the opportunities that Bellevue offers. I've built my career here, I've raised my family, and planted deep roots in the community. With over a decade of experience in land use and planning and development, I have tackled the challenges of the growing cities face. As a leader in technology, I've fostered innovation and collaboration using data-driven approaches to solve problems. I'm eager to bring my skills to the City Council to help shape Bellevue's future. My experience also includes serving on Bellevue's Planning Commission for the last 5 years. This role has deepened in me an understanding of housing policy, infrastructure, transportation, but more importantly, I have gained a deep appreciation for public engagement and the value of diverse perspectives coming together to shape policy. If given the opportunity, I will leverage this experience to hit the ground running and help shape policies that reflect our key priorities. My commitment to community service also extends beyond policy. Losing a close friend to mental health challenges has strengthened my resolve to advocate for and greater support and awareness for this critical issue. As a co-founder of the Beautiful Minds Foundation, I have advanced mental health education and advocacy, which has reinforced my commitment to equity and inclusion. Bellevue is a city that values inclusion, and I'm dedicated to ensuring our government fosters belonging and engagement for all residents.
Thank you so much. Okay, Councilmember Stokes, would you like to ask your first question?
Yes. So what do you see as the role of the county's city council member? And what does it take to perform the role well?
A city council member plays a critical role in shaping Bellevue's future, ensuring that policies reflect the needs of all residents while maintaining a strong economic and community foundation for the city. The role is more than just governance. It requires a deep commitment to listening, problem solving, and leading with integrity to foster inclusiveness, prosperity, and a forward-thinking city. The responsibilities of a council member include passing laws, setting budgetary priorities, and developing policies that impact housing, transportation, economic development, and public safety. But beyond policy, the role is about being a champion for the community, engaging with residents, ensuring their voices are heard, and making informed decisions that drive meaningful progress. Council members must also represent the city's interests in county, state, and regional forums. To be effective in this role, a council member must be grounded in city's key planning frameworks, understanding the comprehensive plan, zoning laws, and financial priorities. But they must also be approachable, actively connecting with residents and businesses and organizations to gain first-hand insight into their concerns and aspirations. Success in this role demands collaboration, both within the council and with regional and state leaders, to bring the best ideas forward. It requires results-driven, data-informed approaches, one that prioritizes pragmatic solutions over ideological differences, but most importantly, it requires integrity, transparency, and a willingness to adapt and innovate as Bellevue continues to evolve. My background in planning, experience in technology, serving on the Planning Commission has given me the experience needed to navigate these complex policy issues, and I'm ready to bring my experience to the council to help.
Thank you. Councilor Rittenhouse.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Michelle. What do you consider the top issues facing the city currently, and how would you address them?
Bellevue is at a pivotal moment. The decisions we make today will shape the future of the city for generations to come. Among the most pressing issues are affordability. There's a growing challenge of homelessness in the region, and the need for continued focus on public safety and economic development. These challenges are interconnected, and addressing them requires a comprehensive and integrated strategy. First of all, affordability remains a major concern. Bellevue's growth has made it increasingly difficult for many to live here, particularly middle-income workers, young families, and seniors. We must move beyond zoning discussions and focus on actual housing production. I will work to accelerate the Next Right initiative to increase housing supply, prioritize strategies to address the middle housing gap, not just the need for increased density, but also how we apply it within the city. That really matters. Promote density near transit hubs and streamline permitting processes to encourage development, ensuring that people who work in Bellevue can also afford to live here. This is essential to maintaining a balanced and thriving community. Homelessness is a growing issue within the region. We must take a proactive approach by investing in supportive housing, expanding mental health services, and strengthening regional partnerships to address the cause. Preventing homelessness before it begins by improving affordability and creating employment programs must be a part of the solution. Expanding Bellevue's community crisis assistance team will ensure mental health crises are addressed effectively, reducing the strain on law enforcement and emergency services as well. Public safety is foundational to Bellevue's success. We must continue investing in law enforcement while also modernizing crisis response programs. Public safety is foundational not just to keeping Bellevue thriving and vibrant for its residents, but also for economic development. Public safety also extends to preparing for climate-related challenges, ensuring disaster preparedness, and enhancing the resilience of our infrastructure. Finally, Bellevue must remain a hub for innovation and economic opportunity. Our city's economy thrives on a dynamic mix of established corporations, startups, and small businesses. Supporting small businesses, preventing displacement, investing in workforce development, and fostering an environment where entrepreneurs can thrive will ensure our city remains a leader in the global economy. By taking a balanced, solutions-driven approach, we can build a Bellevue that is inclusive, resilient, and prepared for the future.
Thank you. Councilmember Hamilton.
Can you share an example of a time when you navigated a complex decision-making process involving conflicting viewpoints, interests, or competing priorities? How did you handle the situation?
Thank you for that challenging question. One example of navigating a complex decision-making process with competing priorities was my work on Bellevue's Planning Commission on the Wilburton Luca. This is a recent example. Developing policy recommendations that for the Wilburton Luca required balancing perspectives from various stakeholders, including developers, affordable housing advocates, businesses, and residents. For the Wilburton policy recommendations to be successful, they need to strike a delicate balance, not only by being able to advance cities' housing affordability goals, creating a structure to encourage residential and commercial development, but also put in place a durable framework that would support a vibrant public realm for decades to come. Despite thorough analysis from the city staff incorporating robust stakeholder input, disagreements persisted on key policy issues. One major debate involved the right-of-ways and the widths for different street sections. Developers and affordable housing groups advocating for narrower sidewalks and amenity zones to maximize buildable space, reduce per unit costs, and encourage near-term development. City staff was recommending wider right-of-ways to enhance the public realm, maintain consistency across Bellevue, and improve environmental outcomes. Both approaches had long-term benefits, financial trade-offs to go through, making this a very complex decision. My approach to address the competing priorities focused on 3 steps. First is to use data to develop an objective lens. I examined the underlying assumptions behind stakeholders and staff proposals, analyzed examples from other jurisdictions, and scrutinized the estimated cost implications. This data-driven approach helped me clarify the possible trade-offs and establish an informed perspective.
5 minutes remaining.
Next, I collaborated with my fellow commissioners to develop a decision-making framework. Through healthy debate, we identified and prioritized non-negotiable inputs, such as safety standards, recognizing that sidewalk and amenity widths could have more flexibility in certain contexts, like for private drives. Through the discussions, I remained receptive to new insights, evolving my point of view as new learnings came along. This helped the Commission find consensus on several inputs, despite being initially on different perspectives. Lastly, I made sure that the recommendations aligned with a long-term vision for the city and for Wilburton. Beyond the technical considerations, it was important to make sure the final proposal reflects Wilburton's vision, balancing safety, enhancing connectivity, supporting the public realm, and maintaining development flexibility. After many months of rigorous work by the city, stakeholder recommendations, Planning Commission work, I'm happy to share that the Planning Commission successfully passed a motion last week to forward Wilburton Luca's policies to Council. I'm proud to stand behind these recommendations. I believe they represent a thoughtful, balanced approach for Bellevue's future growth. And it's to you now.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank
you. If appointed, how would you actively support and advance the city council vision?
Bellevue City Council has laid out a strong vision for a diverse, welcoming, and innovative city. And I'm committed to advancing that vision through strategic action, community engagement, and data-driven policymaking. A key element of Council's vision is to maintain safe, friendly, and welcoming character of our neighborhoods and encourage housing choices across all affordability levels. If appointed, I will advocate for equitable growth policies, ensuring that as Bellevue develops, affordability remains a key focus for us. I will advocate for policies that accelerate production of housing, support increased density around transit, and support investments that continuously improve the quality of life for our residents. Another key part of Council's vision is fostering cross-cultural connections and a sense of belonging. Building on the strong community engagement we have today, I will focus on expanding outreach efforts, ensuring diverse voices are represented in policy decisions. Building on the Bellevue Diversity Advisory Network, I will advocate for an establishment of a civic ambassador program, training community members from underrepresented groups to be a liaison with the city and the community. Bellevue is strongest when the residents feel heard and empowered. Economic resilience is another pillar of the Council's vision. I will support enhancing workforce development programs, encourage open data policies to foster citizen-led innovation, create pathways for small business success. One of the ideas I will advocate for is establishing a civic challenge and hackathon, which will engaging the tech and entrepreneurial community to solve city issues through open data policies, and strengthening public-private partnerships. We can ensure economic opportunity remains accessible to all. A key priority for the council has been to develop a brand for the city. With the growing presence of AWS and Azure in the city, maybe Bellevue can be the cloud computing capital of the world. And one strategic advantage we have, we've always had the clouds. Finally, I will ensure that Bellevue continues its commitment to fiscal responsibility, transparency, and accountability. Smart budgeting and responsible resource allocation are key to maintain the high quality of service that our residents expect. By leading with collaboration, integrity, and a commitment to data-driven solutions, I will work to keep Bellevue moving forward for all who call it home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Michelle?
Yeah, she is bringing Ms. Sumadawaria in.
All right, you can head back out to that other room where Michelle will escort you when you go out. Michelle?
They're welcome to stay
Oh,
if
they
they
can
would
stay?
like. Yeah,
Oh, pardon me.
if they would like.
Doesn't seem fair. Welcome, Claire. How are you? You have 3 minutes to do an opening, and then we will each ask you questions. Question 1, Councilmember Stokes. Question 2, Councilmember Newhouse. Question 3, Hamilton. And question 4, Councilmember Lee. So go ahead when you're ready and start with your opening.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, Mayor Robinson and the amazing whole council team. It is an honor and privilege to be invited to this final round of interview with 4 amazing, highly qualified candidates. My name is Claire Sumadiwaria, with a small business owner, a nonprofit leader, a mother, and most importantly, someone who is passionately in love with this global city of ours. As a proud Bellevue resident over 30 years and founder of Belden Cafe, I seek to serve on the city council to champion our vision of Bellevue as a global city with a local heart. My candidacy represents a commitment of collaborative leadership that will elevate our city's international standing while ensuring growth benefits our communities and neighborhoods. This vision emphasizes Bellevue as a city in a park, welcoming all, open for business, with shared clarity and purpose growth for the health and safety of everyone who lives, works, and visits here. As a small business owner of a social enterprise that gives back over 30 charity partners, I work with marginalized communities every day. Through this experience, I've seen how the future and health of our city depends on innovative workforce development and attainable housing where our co-workers, friends, and our children can thrive in a community that is closely connected through the global goal of sustainable growth. The exciting journey for us to work together to create this global city with a local heart is on my mind every day when we serve courageous and inspirational people coming from all around the world. As a single mother of 3 energetic and joyful children, public safety, education, and quality life are what I look forward to engaging and improving every morning when I'm trying to master those perfectly poached expensive eggs. This is every parent in Bellevue invests in our community to provide the best childhood for their children. My immigrant parents did that, and now it's my responsibility to ensure that every child who grows up here will want to stay, work, and live here. And when they go out to the world to represent Bellevue like I did, they always come back to support our community because we love Bellevue. This is our home that keeps us safe, our village that keeps us thrive, and our community that love us back with the best intention.
All right, thank you. I think I'm going to ask you to just sit back a little bit from the mic.
Thank you.
And I think it'll pick up a little bit more easily for us to hear. Okay, Councilmember Stokes.
Yeah, what do you see as the role of a city council member, and what does it take to perform the role well?
Is this better? Louder.
It'll be fine.
Is that better? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for that feedback. The role of city council member is to serve both the visionary leader and a practical bridge builder who connects Bellevue's diverse community with city governance. And what I see council members must balance is economic development with community well-being, crafting policy that enhance our global competitiveness while preserving our local character. Above all, a council member is a steward of a public trust, committed to Bellevue looking forward while building on a firm foundation of what makes us our city special. Performing this role effectively requires 3 critical criteria. First, collaborative leadership that brings diverse stakeholders to the table. As demonstrated through my work founding Belden Cafe and serving on multiple boards, I've created space where different perspectives converge to produce balanced solutions. My experience bridging different worlds as an immigrant entrepreneur, nonprofit leader, and a single mother has prepared me to facilitate the inclusive process where neighborhoods understand how they each can contribute to the whole. Second, deep community connections across Bellevue's diverse communities. Through my involvement with the King County Immigrant Commission, Bellevue School Foundation, and Porchlight, I've built relationships with community that often remain disconnected from civic decisions. These connections are effective two-way communication between residents and our government. I believe Bellevue listens, and I've experienced this firsthand in the welcoming service-first approach that sets our city apart. Third, reflective decision-making that incorporates cost-benefit assessment while remaining value-driven. On the Bellevue Independent Salary Commission, I analyze financial data while considering broader community impacts. This approach ensures responsibility stewardship of resources while advancing our shared priorities. I've learned that as I serve, my best place is to mentor and to be mentored, to bring clarity, stewardship, and reliability in always supporting the community.
Thank you. Councilmember Neuenhuis.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome, Claire. What do you consider the top issues currently the city is facing, and how would you address them?
Thank you. Bellevue faces several interconnected challenges as we are evolving into a global city while maintaining our community fabric. 3 priorities that stands out align directly with our council vision are housing affordability and balanced development presents our most pressing challenges. I would address this by fostering council consensus on community-centered development process that incorporate diverse resident input, particularly from those who are most vulnerable to displacement. I would champion incentive encouraging developers to exceed affordability requirements while implementing anti-displacement strategies, protecting vulnerable residents. The Eastgate Housing Roundtable provides an excellent model, and I would build on the work of the Wilburton Citizens Advisory Committee and the Affordable Housing Strategy to develop solutions for essential workers, seniors, and families. Economic inclusion during rapid growth requires intentional policies. I would work to create connections between global corporations and local businesses, small businesses, while establishing incubator spaces for immigrant and minority entrepreneurs. My experience positioning Bellevue as a premium destination through city-focused collaboration has shown me how economic development can benefit all of us, all the residents where property are structured. The Bell Red Art District, with its support toward attainable housing and artisans, exemplifies how we can develop spaces that foster economic vitality while preserving a community's character. And lastly, the community health and safety that continue to be our foundation of our success. Working with innovative leaders like the Bellevue Police Team and building programs like Bellevue Cares, I would advocate for initiatives that strengthen our communities and our neighborhoods while ensuring equitable emergency service delivery citywide. I believe our city parks serve as a vital center with sound transit as an artery of engagement from the region now and as it expands. The vision of Bellevue as a city in the park
prioritize community gathering, accessible open space, and equitable connection and effective human service delivery. The key to address all these issues is a meaningful community engagement, as highlighted in the comprehensive plan. In my business, we've implemented innovative approaches like our license plate program at the Belden, which allows our community to support local causes without driving around the corner for 3 times. Similarly, I believe city governance should make civic participation accessible and impactful.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, welcome. Can you share an example of a time when you navigated a complex decision-making process involving conflicting viewpoints, interests, or competing priorities? How did you handle the situation?
So when I established the Belden Cafe as Bellevue's first mission-focused social enterprise, I encountered conflicting priorities between the traditional business metrics and then community impact goals. Small business advisors emphasize on maximizing profit margins, while nonprofit partners advocated allocating more resources toward the community programs. Meanwhile, customers sought quality products at very accessible prices. I approached this complexity by first creating a structured decision framework that quantified both the financial stability and the community impact. This allowed me to evaluate trade-offs more objectively, considering both short-term financial implications and long-term community benefits. I learned that we can be both empathetic and strategic at the same time. Not everything is trauma, but understanding different perspectives helps reach better solutions. Next, I facilitated stakeholder dialogues, bring together business mentors, nonprofit leaders, and community members to better understand each perspective. This approach mirrors what I admire most about Bellevue's governance, the profound sensitivity to public input that provides clarity and direction. Through these conversations, we identify innovative solutions that weren't apparent when considering each viewpoint in isolation. So for example, we develop a model that certain products carry slightly higher margins to subsidize the community initiatives better. Finally, I implement a transparent, clear communication approach where we proactively, clearly articulate how business decisions supported our broader community mission. This built trust across all stakeholder groups and created a shared understanding of seemingly competing priorities could coexist. The key to Bellevue's growth is having these conversations and the communications that build a community based on common value and goals to create a vibrant city. The result was a sustainable business model that supports over 30 local charities, donating over 18,000 cups of charity drinks while remaining financially viable through COVID, and then also creating employment pathway for over 100 marginalized individuals.
5 minutes remaining.
This experience demonstrated that with proper process and inclusive dialogue, apparent conflict can transform complementary strength and a lesson that served me well in the future in the council. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Lee.
Welcome, okay.
Thank you.
If appointed, how would you actively support and advance the City Council's vision?
I would advance the city vision by serving as an authentic bridge building between Bellevue's aspiration as a global city and the priority of our diverse local communities. My approach would focus on 3 strategies. First, I would strengthen collaborative governance by partnering with city manager and staff to ensure policies reflect both the economic vitality and the community well-being. Drawing on my experience with BDA, chambers, community partners, and Visit Bellevue, I would build consensus on initiatives support Bellevue's economic success while preserving the neighborhood's character. This includes fostering dialogue between business leaders, community advocates, to develop balanced solutions. If appointed, I would commit to numerous conversations with staff members like Mike from the Parks and Constance from the Fleece to understand the hows from our common ground to purpose together. And second, I would enhance inclusive community engagement, creating more accessible pathway for marginalized community to participate in civic processes. Through my work with the diverse community at Belden, I've developed effective methods to demystify governance and showing residents that civic engagement is for everyone. I would ensure these communities have meaningful input through culturally responsive outreach strategies and the generational engagement discussed in the recent article with Patient Palama and Jill Feng highlights the importance of bringing all voice to the table as we plan for a shared bright future. And third, I would champion environment stewardship that balances global standards with the local values we have. My leadership with the King County Open Space Equity Cabinet has prepared me to advocate the sustainability initiatives that incorporate international best practice while honoring our community's connection to the future and natural environment. Looking at Bellevue from a higher level as a city in the park help us see the importance of our parks, our community center as gathering place like the Bellevue Downtown Park. These approaches align with my core value of my community first, while supporting Bellevue's evolution into a truly global city with a strong local foundation. I believe the council is looking for a pathway that is both heart-driven and path-driven, and I'm committed to bring that balanced perspective to our work together. If selected, I'll be honored to help guide Bellevue's future, ensuring prosperity is shared across all communities and every resident helps to shape our collective future together. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess you can go sit down, and Michelle will bring in our next candidate, who is Diala. She did. Okay, thank you. Hi, Diala, how are you? So we're going to give you 3 minutes to do an introductory, and then we're going to ask you for questions. You have 3 minutes to answer each question, and the deputy mayor wants me to remind you that you will be notified at the 5-minute mark when you have 5 minutes less for the entire interview. Okay. So why don't you go ahead and start with your intro.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be with you all today. Bellevue is more than just where I live. It's my home. It's a place where people from all backgrounds come together to build strong, vibrant, and inclusive community. I have experienced firsthand the sense of belonging that Bellevue fosters in Crossroads, Downtown Park, Bellevue Square, and in our favorite restaurants, and the homes of our friends from all walks of life. And I'm deeply committed to ensuring that everyone, residents, workers, visitors, businesses, organizations, and communities feel welcomed, valued, and heard. Throughout my career as an educator, data scientist, and a product manager, I have worked at the intersection of problem solving, innovation, and collaboration. I know that good leadership starts with listening, engaging diverse perspectives, and making thoughtful data-driven decisions guided by clear values. These are the same principles I will bring to city leadership. The City Council's vision, Bellevue welcomes the world. Our diversity is our strength. We embrace the future while respecting our past, is a vision I deeply believe in, not just when it's easy to live by, but also when it's hard. Not just because they are words that sounds good, but because I have lived through the alternative. My own family is diverse. My family engaged the world for a better future while honoring our ancestors and our past. For my family, these are values we live by. For my family, this is real and personal. If appointed, I will work on fostering more ways for inclusion, supporting smart growth that works for everyone, that is functional and sustainable, and ensuring that as our city evolves, we stay true to our values that makes Bellevue a place where people want to live, work, and flourish. What I bring to the table is all of me: the parent, the educator, the data scientist, the friend, the neighbor, the partner, the love for learning, the deep care for everything and everyone that I engage with. My name is Diala Azadine. I'm excited about the opportunity to serve, to work alongside all of you. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to answer your questions.
Thank you, Diala. Councilmember Stokes, why don't you start us off?
Yes, what do you see as the role of a city council member, and what does it take to perform the role well?
I see the role of city council member as deep commitment to public service and a responsibility to represent the voices of everyone who lives and works in Bellevue. It's an honor to serve the community and contribute to the well-being of our home city. To perform this role effectively, I believe it's essential to actively listen to residents, understand their needs, and engage with diverse perspectives. I must stay well-informed by researching policies, city projects, and initiatives to make thoughtful decision, data-driven decision if possible. Most importantly, I will always consider the long-term impact for every decision, not just for current residents and visitors, but for future generation who will call Bellevue their home. The future often holds unexpected twists and turns, and we have to adapt as these present themselves. All this while partnering with one another and everyone who works with the city and taking the time to reflect deeply together on issues that faces us every day. The bottom line, be as informed, as open, and as flexible as possible. Be guided by clear principles and vision, and keep in mind who we are doing this for, and that this is about the now and the future.
Thank you. Councilmember Newhouse.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome.
Oh, thank you.
My question for you is, what do you consider the top issues facing the city currently, and how would you address them?
So I care deeply about a lot of things, about safety, security, housing, transportation, access to services, quality of life for all of us. I also know that working with other communities in the King County is key to tackling these big challenges. But I believe one of the top challenges facing Bellevue is balancing population growth with business development, while ensuring that diversity of people and businesses is preserved and supported. Addressing these challenges require a thoughtful, long-term approach in partnership with everyone. There is no single solution that fits all aspects of this issue, but I would prioritize city planning that actively incorporate community feedback and future-oriented thinking. For example, when approving new developments, we must consider factors such as parking capacity, traffic flow, transportation options, pedestrian and bike accessibility, affordable housing, and access to parks and nature. Additionally, we need to ensure that small businesses have opportunity to thrive as part of the city growth. Keeping in mind and collaborating with all stakeholders is key to converge on common ground. Ultimately, my goal is to help shape Bellevue where future generation like my son and all children growing up here, that they can and want to return and to live in Bellevue. And where longtime residents can contribute to call it home with access to the services that they need. This vision aligns with the heart of what makes Bellevue a great place to live in.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you. Welcome. Can you share an example of a time when you navigated a complex decision-making process involving conflicting viewpoints, interests, or competing priorities? How did you handle the situation?
Yes, so throughout my personal and professional life, I have navigated many complex situations involving conflicting viewpoints and competing priorities, but I will talk about one. I had to make one decision about a product while working with a partner. The partner strongly advocated for including a specific feature that aligns with their sales and marketing goals. However, my company had a strict policy against approving anything that could be perceived as a direct sales tool for our partners. This created an immediate conflict that needed careful handling. In the moment before having the opportunity to consult with our executives, I focused on what matters most, our customers. I carefully integrated aspects of the partner's request while ensuring that our company's policies and priorities upheld, all while prioritizing the needs of our users. The outcome was a win-win that was something that went beyond palatable into something everyone is excited about. It took listening, compromise, care, creativity, and patience. Throughout my life experiences, I learned the importance of not making quick decisions when faced with competing interests. Instead, I handle such situations by engaging in one-on-one discussions with all stakeholders, gathering data, and considering different perspectives. This approach allows me to make informed decisions that serve the best interest of the company and people involved, while ensuring transparency and alignment throughout. No doubt, in all manner of public service, there will be differences and conflicts, even among those working for a common purpose and shared principles and vision. There is no doubt this will happen. No doubt it will be hard and maybe time-consuming to navigate these when they come up. It's time well spent, I think, on behalf of the people of Bellevue, and I believe I can be a positive force for good in such situations.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee?
Okay. If appointed, how would you actively support and advance the city council vision?
As you heard me say before, the city vision is personal and real to me. It reflects a commitment that I can get behind because that is how I live my life. This vision deeply resonates with me and aligns with my values. If appointed, I will actively engage with Bellevue's diverse communities, businesses, and residents, listening to their needs and ensuring that their voices are reflected in the City Council decisions. I will continuously think of ways to incorporate this vision as we do the work on every policy and initiative. I will work with everyone on identifying how we know we are making the journey toward that vision well, and how we can hold ourselves as City Council accountable for progress toward that vision.
5 minutes remaining.
Some of this is looking at the data available to us to assess our successes and areas of improvement. I think my background in data science and analytics may bring differentiated value to add to what everyone else in the council already brings today. If I do nothing other than listen, learn, synthesize, internalize, present the top issues that concern our fellow people of Bellevue, backed by data, backed by deep care, then it would be time well spent. And thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much. You can go ahead and sit down in the audience. Hi, Jimmy. Come sit down. Welcome. We are going to give you 3 minutes to do an opening statement. Then we will take time for each council member to ask you 1 question for a total of 4 questions, 3-minute answers each. And at the 5-minute mark, we'll let you know when you have 5 minutes left. So let you start with your opening statement.
First of all, thank you, council members. Thank you. I really appreciate what you guys do, keeping us clean, keeping us safe. And so far, the decisions made in this council helped economic development and helped us thrive, keep us families. And I feel blessed every day for last 20 years, the city I live. I have never lived in my adult life anywhere else. I was a student. I did my job 2 years in India, moved here on H-1B. I waited for 13 years to get my green card, and I became citizen in December 2023. Recently, I took an oath for this great country, and I'm very passionate, compassionate to work and serve this community. So my name is Jaskaran Singh Sarao, and my nickname is Jimmy, and I am a chair for Human Services City of Bellevue. I'm a scout leader for Troop 662. I'm a director for a non-profit organization serving a core of humanity. And I have been a mentor for the Let Me Run program, encouraging the kids. And I have been a president for my Norwood Village Association, where I have been organizing a community events like 4K Run and 4th of July celebration, which I invited all the council members. And here I want to thank you, the staff also. At our human services, the staff and city manager, they help us with all the tough decisions and help us to walk through. I appreciate that. And the police, the great police, the Bellevue police, I strongly support. The guy who's standing here was standing today at Lake Hills and directing, helping the people move out through the traffic. So we came here for equality, justice, and love, and we are here to contribute. That's my motto. My Sikh faith tells me selfless service. I am here to unite. I have no agenda, I have nothing aligned. I am here to serve my community, this beautiful city, Bellevue. And I want to thank you, the city staff, for having a Bellevue Essentials program, which helped me and provided me opportunity that how it was my first civic engagement and give me the opportunity to serve in the commission and learn more and get involved. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Stokes.
Yes, so what do you see as the role of a city council member, and what does it take to perform the role well?
I was lucky enough for last year, I ran a campaign. I did a lot of doorbelling. I learned the real concern. We have heard in the oral communication today also, people are not feeling listened. We need to go out. We are just a normal Bellevue resident, and experts are the city staff and the police who do their work. And we have to be more connected to the grassroots issues. We should be using a social media. I would recommend, I would be more communicating through the social media, where we will be telling this is the issue we are facing, this is the decisions we are making in the council today. This is the affordable housing project coming and how it's going to affect the neighborhoods. Many of the neighborhoods don't know what's happening. Though emails are sent, because I'm following it, I'm a human services chair, I could understand what's going on in the city, but it's really hard. In the simple language, it's a big drastic change coming, and it's growth, which is big change. As an immigrant, I made a choice to come to this city, and that was my choice. But the people living here for last 40 to 50 years, they didn't choose this change. And while thinking about the growth, we don't want to push them out. We don't want to ignore them, who are our real people who voted the council, and the responsibility, gave us a responsibility sitting there so that we can represent them well. So that's a concern. And during the Bellevue Essentials, I learned that the city policies affect us every day more than what is happening nationally or anywhere else in the world. The city has a great responsibility, the public safety, how we feel safe on the city streets. Me and my wife, we are at the day before yesterday, we at a postal service at Victoria. And she asked me to go inside and I said, it's 7:30, just go and get it. I'll sit in the car. No, she was not feeling safe. And exactly what happened. There was a guy inside, high on drugs, sleeping there. And I talked to him, I said, and the shelter is not that far. So there's a big time mental health crisis and drug use. We need to take a serious note on how we resolve that. Myself serving at a shelter, men's shelter and the family shelter for last 10 years, I have learned that 95% people, they are going through they're homeless without any normal, not without the job there's some mental health crisis or drug issues going on. I have served the food at the shelter where we have a transit center right now, a big train junction. And I have served when it was a Lincoln, it's right to the downtown. And city did a great job by moving the tents from the main intersection at 405. And I am very proud. There's a lot of things. I will defend your good work. I will defend good policies. I will provide transparency. My door will be always open. I want to talk to the real people, real issues, and make a real change. I don't want to make a scene that you go to a grocery shop and you see the shoplifting, as in the oral communication, one of the person who told. We don't want to see that. It shouldn't be normal. It's not a good message for the kids. We want economic development in this city. What is common here from all of the people, world came here? Opportunity. Opportunity unites us. That's why we have 129 languages at school. We need to keep the opportunity so that people can come, work, feel safe, and enjoy and be the part of civic society and appreciate what our council is doing here.
Councilmember Nieuwenhuis.
Thank you. Welcome, Jimmy. Question for you is, what do you consider the top issues facing our city currently, and how would you go about addressing them?
The public safety and the housing crisis right now going, the two of the top issues. Third one is community engagement. So the public safety, people, right in the northeast here, there's a gas station and there's an armed robbery happened a few months back. And people are coming from out of the city. Many people are working hard to live in Bellevue. I know me and my wife both have to work hard to make our ends meet and raise the kids in this city. I can't promise that to my kids that this city, you have to work hard, son, to live in this city. We need a responsible citizens who take the responsibility and we pay the taxes, and that's a social contract with the government and the ordinary public. We have to provide them a safety.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you. Welcome. Can you share an example of a time when you navigated a complex decision-making process involving conflicting viewpoints, interests, or competing priorities? How did you handle the situation?
While I was the president for a Norwood Association, sorry.
Is that water for you that you can drink?
Okay. I was a president for a Norwood Village Association for 4 years, and we have a community pool which need to be expanded. And I reached out to the council and to the pool, and we have to swap, and I have to get involved the city staff, parks department, which was very helpful. And it was a long, lengthy process, how we swapped the land with the city of Bellevue parts department and expand our pool. And it was also tricky because many neighbors, the kids are outgrown, they don't use the pool, and they were not interested in any kind of activity. To motivate them, to get them involved, to get them signed, and get that land swapped, expand the pool, and make the community, two neighbor associations work together and organize various events and unify.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Lee.
Hi, Jimmy. If appointed, how would you actively support and advance the city's council's vision, the city council vision?
So I will defend your good work. I will defend the good policies. I will provide the transparency. And I will be very vocal about what's going here. I will be posting on the social media. I will be posting, I think it should be illegal that we can post that how many council members say agree to certain terms and how many say no to certain policies. So it should be in the public that who approved, who played a major role. So I think that transparency is the main thing I want to be addressing, and I will be looking after it.
Great, thank you so much. You can have a seat in the audience, and then Michelle's going to bring in our last candidate, Eric Drever. Hi, Eric. Have a seat. Welcome. We are going to give you 3 minutes to do an introduction, and then 4 council members are going to ask you questions. And when you only have 5 minutes left, we will give you that 5-minute warning, okay?
Perfect.
So you start with your introduction.
All right, well, good evening, council, mayor, deputy mayor, staff, fellow Bellevue residents. My name is Eric Drever, and I am a Bellevue resident of 20 years here. My family and I have our extended family living here. My parents living in Newport Hills. We live at the base of Somerset in Factoria, and my in-laws live at the top of Somerset. And we love living in Bellevue. We love the community, and we love contributing. One of the things that I bring to you tonight as it relates to my experience and my skill set is I've been a public servant for the last 32 years. I've dedicated my life to serving the community and making sure that we're inclusive of everyone and making sure that everybody's safe. As we go through our job every day, I have literally bled, sweat, and tears for our community. And I'm looking for an opportunity to continue to do that in a capacity for my own community. I consider Tukwila my community as well, is my home away from home because of the way that we provide service to our community. And Tukwila is treating us, the law enforcement and the members of the city, as community members. We consider ourselves a part of the community. And for us, moving forward with all of the experience and skills that I bring to bear and knowledge, especially with the last 4 years of having been the chief of police for that city, we're looking at budgets, we're looking at comp plans. I'm doing all of the things that you currently do here in Bellevue, obviously different scales and maybe different specific issues. But for the most part, we're dealing with the exact same issues that you are. Crime knows no jurisdiction. We see it impacting all of our communities. And where I believe that I bring some benefit is the networks that I already have in place as it relates to working regionally. You've seen my resume. I have ties at the state level. I have ties at the federal level. I can bring a lot of that to bear for good for the council here and to help our community. Aside from the
obvious transition of items that I work with on a daily basis and the skill sets of being in a municipal setting and having municipal issues to deal with. I volunteer in our community in every corner I can, especially as it relates to my boys. I've coached our children. I've kept our children safe as part of the Watchdogs program at Somerset Elementary when they were younger. Currently, the wife and I volunteer together as part of the Touchdown Club for the Newport Knights. We find ways to get involved, we find the need, and from that, we try and move forward. Aside from that, I have this particular experience with labor law as it related to me participating as the guild president for the Police Officers Guild, and now I negotiate for the city on the management side of things. So when it comes to trying to address labor within the city and provide services and having to collectively bargain, I have a unique perspective from both sides, being able to come to equitable compromises as we negotiate. So all of that in favor of trying to provide service to the community.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Stokes.
Yes, what do you see as the role of a city council member, and what does it take to perform the role well?
Well, being the legislative branch, we're responsible for making sure that laws are in place and that we are making sure that the services that are provided efficiently and equitably to the community. In order to do that, we need to make sure that we're up to date on laws and ordinances, that we as council would come to meetings prepared, having read the materials and not just reading them, but understanding them, seeking community input to any of the issues that are brought before the council so that we can make informed decisions because we represent the community. The most important thing as it relates to the roles and our responsibility, though, and how we can do it efficiently is getting out into the community where they are. We need to go out, we need to talk with them and listen to what they're saying. More importantly, bring that back for the group and the council to be able to be informed as a whole and discuss the difficult decisions that we have every day to work with as a city. We need to make sure that we are including the community's voice in that decision making. Engage and listen to the community is at the heart of making sure that any of you as council, hopefully myself as well, making sure that we are all listening and engaging.
Councilmember Nunhaus.
Thank you, and welcome, Eric. What do you consider the top issues facing the city currently, and how would you go about addressing them?
A little biased on this one. Public safety, obviously. And when I say public safety, I'm not just talking law enforcement. I'm talking about all of emergency services. I'm talking about streets. I'm talking about parks, making sure we have infrastructure, the lighting necessary, making sure that we have equal access for everybody. All of that's rolled into public safety. However, more explicitly as it relates to public safety and my particular expertise, I'm talking about our police department. Right now, the Bellevue Police Department is short-staffed. They're having to pull members of their department from specialties back into patrol to make sure that they are having the streets covered. And by doing that, that means that you are sacrificing other services that you could be providing for the community, usually in the form of proactive enforcement. So what we need to do as a council and as a city is make sure that we provide those resources to the police department that allows for effective recruitment and retention. This is no fault of the Bellevue Police Department. All law enforcement across this nation are seeing this problem right now. When I first got hired 31 years ago, there were about 1,000 people putting in for one position, and you had to take a shotgun approach and just apply anywhere and hope that you might get an interview. Today, those numbers are averaging more about 30 or 40 per position. Drastic change. And from those 30 and 40, you'll be lucky to find 2 or 3 quality individuals. And those quality individuals are people that are going to share our values as a council, as a city, and share the values of our community. They're people that are going to be willing to serve and care about the community.
often not often, every time we bring on a new employee to the police department, they get a welcome wagon their first day with the chief of police. And we sit down and have a very informal conversation, welcome to the family. However, I pass on my expectation. And that expectation is that they will provide the level of service that they would expect for their own family. Those are the people that we need to be hiring in the Bellevue Police Department. Those are the people that we need to retain. And I know several of them personally, and you do have those people working here. But we need to be able to free up resources so that we continue to hire and backfill the empty spots that we have so that we can make sure that we can keep the community protected. Because it doesn't matter what any of our other priorities are. If we do not have public safety, keeping people safe and people feel safe, you're not going to want to participate in commerce. You're not going to want to go out and use public transportation. You must feel safe in order for everything else to line up. Secondly, for a priority, obviously, the council has made a priority out of their 12 identified priorities. 3 of them all revolve around housing. 4 if you count working on homeless issues as well. And so for us, we need to make sure that, one, we're listening to the community and what their needs are, especially right now with the state mandate related to middle housing and providing for more condensed housing and being able to accommodate more people. So we need to be aware of their concerns. Some of them are concerned about the potential for boarding houses. Are there ways for us to address those issues? We need to be including the community in those decisions. Also, we need to make sure that we're providing those services or looking at housing along the transportation lines that will be able to accommodate that because of all the plethora of issues that go with that related to parking and where or not we supply parking. We need to make sure that we have the ability to access transportation. And then finally, we need to make sure we're preserving the character of our neighborhoods. Our community members are extremely proud of their neighborhoods, and I believe we can find a way for us to take into consideration the state mandate moving forward, especially with our comp plan and what we plan on doing with the housing, while at the same time taking into consideration the community's expectations of, 1, listening to them, and 2, preserving the history that we have here in Bellevue.
Thank you. 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, so you have 2 more questions.
Yep.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Welcome. Can you share an example of a time when you navigated a complex decision-making process involving conflicting viewpoints, interests, or competing priorities? How did you handle the situation?
That's every day at work. So I'll give you some examples, though. And I say that seriously. All of our complex issues that we deal with on a daily basis are very similar to what goes on in Bellevue. We take a team approach on trying to address those issues, making sure we take into consideration stakeholders and getting input from everyone, making sure we're using objective data so that we can supply an equitable decision that takes care of the goals of as many community members as we can. As an example, back at the start of COVID, we had to declare a state of emergency for the city, as many of us did. We stood up our emergency operations center. I was our operations chief, and in taking on that position, I was responsible for making sure that services, specifically emergency services, were still being provided to the city. When we are telling people not to come to work because we're afraid you're going to get exposed to a deadly virus, yet we have to make decisions about putting people into the field, directly putting them in harm's way. You can just imagine the types of conversations that were going on how do we do this safely, efficiently? How can we do it with exposing the fewest number of people? What happens if we do expose somebody? We've had entire crews that got exposed during the pandemic, and we ended up not having shifts to be able to be covered because people were in quarantine. It led to a lot of disagreement on how to handle those things, but we all had the same common idea in mind and common goal of making sure our people were safe, our employees were safe, while at the same time the community was safe and meeting their needs. These decisions happen every day, And it takes collaborative approach and being brave to talk about the difficult task at hand.
Terrific. Okay, Councilmember Lee.
Okay. If appointed, how would you actively support and advance the city council vision?
Well, it begins with the collaborative approach of all of us working together to implement the vision. We need to also remember to stop and challenge ourselves, always looking to evolve as a council, as individuals, working with staff, working with the community to make sure that we are on track for one thing, but always stopping and assessing to make sure to see if we need to make adjustments. We need to make sure that, or I would take measures to make sure I educate myself on all of the issues. And if I come up with new information and I feel like council members are not aware of certain information, I'd make sure I share that. I believe in transparency and accountability, and it begins here for the rest of the city, and we need to be setting that example. But ultimately, we need to engage with the community, and I promise to endeavor to do that. Listen to the community and bring back their thoughts and ideas. There's no one individual that can do it all themselves. 7 people is a good brain trust, but we represent the community and we need to make sure that we're engaging them, and I promise to do that and bring that to the council.
Okay, thank you very much. You can go ahead and sit down. I want to thank all the candidates for working so hard to do a great job answering these tough questions. We're going to go on with our meeting, and then towards the end, we'll have our executive session where we will excuse ourselves and review. So next on our agenda is the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have one study session item. City Manager, would you like to introduce this? For once, it's not just a read-only. We get to talk
Yes.
about it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this month's intergovernmental affairs updates are in your packet. But we're lucky to have Katie Halsey here today, who's going to give us the legislative update as we have reached the second half of the legislative session, and they've passed the first major cutoff. So Katie is our Assistant Director for Government Relations, and she and Genesee Adkins, our Deputy City Manager, will give you a rundown and a preview of what's coming. So with that, I'll turn it over to Katie.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, wherever he is, and other City Council members. It's so great to be here tonight. I'm Katie Kasimba-Halsey and Genesee Adkins. This is going to be an information-only presentation, but certainly really welcome your comments, questions, and feedback. The way that I've set up today's presentation is that we will review our state legislative agenda, just a refresher on the session and our key priorities, and then jump right into some of the key issues moving forward in the session, including the deliberations on the budget. And talk about how staff may consider evaluating revenue proposals that we anticipate happening over the course of the next few weeks. And finally, we'll end with a few timeline items and how we get to the end of session. So as a reminder, this is the first of a 2-year biennium. This particular session is the long session, so it's 105 days. I believe we are on day 65, so more than halfway through. This is also the time in the biennium where they develop the operating, transportation, and capital budgets. We'll talk a lot more about that later, so I'll spare you the details right now. Since the beginning of session in mid-January, there's been over 2,000 bills that have been sponsored. Not all of those have survived, and we'll talk about some of those as well. But I do want to let you know that your legislative team of staff throughout all the departments in the city have reviewed about over 350 bills to date. We are no longer reviewing all of those to date because as session goes on, bills do tend to drop off our radar because of different timelines or cutoffs. So of those 350-ish bills, we're reviewing about 90 of them right now that are still alive. So what are some of those bills that didn't make it out of the House of Origin cutoff, which means bills affectionately die unless they are necessary to implement the budget? A few of those bills are 1380, which was at one point called the Homeless Bill of Rights, or safe, I'm going to forget the second word, but it's a bill that would relate to camping in public, which would allow or provide for new restrictions and new legal requirements that were quite vague and would have been very problematic for city liability. This was a bill that many other cities also opposed. And so appreciate all of the work to help advocate for the city's concerns on this. Another bill, 1195, that is the STEP housing bill, and it created requirements to cities to authorize shelter on every parcel and created a dispute resolution process that could have resulted in tax revenues being withheld. And then also another bill that recently died was a bill, it was 1443. It allowed for 2 mobile housing units, like an RV or a camper, on every residential lot. So those are bills, again, that are no longer moving forward. As we sigh. Okay, so a quick reminder of our state legislative agenda. This was adopted in October of 2024, and it does really serve as that compass, and you all use it quite often. Several of you used it even more often than others have. We had the legislative reception on December 10th, so you all were welcomed, our legislative delegation members, for that reception here. And then Mayor and Deputy Mayor went down to Olympia for a Bellevue Day on February 7th. But day in and day out, we use this legislative agenda as our primary lens to assess the funding opportunities and develop strategies for priorities and policies that come from legislative dialogue. We do bill analysis every day. Sometimes I might mention these bills to you or send them to you for awareness. Sometimes we testify on legislation, and several of you have done that already or are doing it later this week. We do sign-ons when we want to provide our opinion. And also, we use our legislative agenda for coalition building and then ongoing work with our delegation. So as a reminder, we had key priorities that we really wanted to focus on this legislative session, and I'll go through those key legislative priorities next and tell you where we're at with our progress on them. So the first is really focused on the Bellevue Grand Connection. We had 2 specific funding requests. One funding request was for the Downtown Integration Project. That's a $900,000 request for accessibility on City Hall Plaza, and that has been submitted through the budget process, through the capital budget process, by Representative Wallen. Representative Salahuddin also supports that, in addition to Senator Slatter. We also have been advocating for approximately $50 million for the I-405 crossing, and we've requested that funding through partnership if a transportation funding package develops and advances. And we are continuing to work with our delegation and stakeholders and committee leadership to advance that conversation. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the potential of a transportation funding package in just a bit. Another priority that we identified was really focused on infrastructure related to transportation. When the session started, we identified, WashDOT identified a $94.1 million funding gap for 4 projects that are currently under construction in or around the Bellevue area that's directly tied to I-405 or SR 167. What we did is we got straight into action. We identified a group of stakeholders up and down the I-405 and SR 167 corridor. Staff has been meeting on a regular basis with those staff from other cities. And in fact, not only are they meeting on a regular basis, but a coalition letter was submitted to the governor's office and to leadership of the House and the Senate so that we could advocate for funding of those projects. I just drove on I-405 just a few moments ago. It includes the Bellevue to Renton Phase 2 project. So this is very important that we get it into the transportation budgets and finished. Another project that we've been advocating for is the SR 520 124th Avenue Interchange Project. That has been submitted as a funding request from Representative Wallen and Senator Slatter, and we'll talk more about the transportation budget challenges in just a bit. Another funding request, which is really cool. I love projects that have coalitions, a big coalition, and this is one that has a nice big coalition. It's the eCity Gov Alliance budget request for $2.7 million. This would modernize the mybuildingpermit.com site, both front-facing and back-facing. And so there is a funding request that Representative Wallen has submitted on behalf of that larger coalition. And then on to not necessarily funding requests, but maybe priorities in terms of policy. We've frequently been talking about affordable housing, implementation, and funding over the last few years. This is certainly a continuation of all that work. This time we are asking to the legislature to provide adequate funding, resources, and time to implement the recent state legislation that they passed about land use and housing. There are some bills that continue to move forward. I'll quickly highlight them, and I can certainly come back to them if you'd like. Transit-oriented development is House Bill 1491. I will tell you, even as of about 3 hours ago, we were working on some potential language with other stakeholders, including other cities, to try to modify that bill. Also, lot splitting. This is a bill that has been around for a number of years, and so we've been able to workshop that bill over the last few years, and we think we're at a good spot at this time. Parking minimums, that's 5184, not to be confused by the next one, which has 5148. Parking minimums would establish a minimum number, establish a one-size-fits-all regulation, and it would restrict city ability to regulate parking for new development. This is a bill that's been very challenging, and we've been working very closely with AWC and other stakeholders to try to advocate for a modification of the minimum parking requirements based on a lot of data, and data that Bellevue has provided and supplied about parking utilization. We're also asking for clarification on minimum parking requirements for middle housing. Again, this is another bill I was working on just before I got here this evening, and we know that we're making some progress in having these conversations, but we still have got a long ways to go. And then 5148, that's the Housing Accountability Act. This intends to ensure that cities are compliant with the Growth Management Act requirements for the housing element, and it would necessitate a review by the Department of Commerce to deem them legally valid before they go into effect. We've had concerns with this bill over the last few weeks and even the last few months, and we worked with the sponsor to try to mitigate for those concerns. We did have a lot of success when it was in the Senate, and then it unfortunately was pushed into a direction that we're not comfortable with right now, so we're working with the sponsor and other legislators to try to advocate for some changes to that legislation. And then finally, I'll just mention that there is some REIT legislation that is moving forward. That's House Bill 1791, and that had a hearing today, so we're looking forward to seeing that advance. Oh, now I'm going to sigh a big sigh. Boy, the state budget deliberations are just continue to be an ongoing challenge. Both the operating and the transportation budgets are going to be a focal point for the legislature over the next few weeks and months. If you didn't watch the revenue forecast, don't worry, I did. That was just a few hours ago where they announced, there's different numbers floating around. I'm going to be really clear about what number I'm using. They announced a decrease of $425 million over 4 years, and those 4 years are from 2023 to 2027, so 2 biennials. So
Decrease in revenues?
Decrease in revenues. Yep, sorry. Thank you for clarifying. And that's a decrease compared to November. So this is not the direction that the legislature was hoping it would go. I can certainly tell you much more about what they concluded, but I'll sum it up by saying that the US and Washington state economies are growing but slowing. It's a slow growth, and there's impacts of lower spending and higher inflation and interest rates. Reduced B&O, lower sales tax, and lower interest rate of returns at the state level. And there remains questions about tariffs and then policy choices that could impact those revenues in the future. So this is our glimpse right now. What does this mean for the budgets? The operating budget remains a challenge. The budget writers are estimating about a $12 billion shortfall over the next 4 years. The governor's office is saying it's more like about a $15 billion shortfall. And what we've seen is that the governors, plural, the former governor and the current governor, have already identified some reductions that they would like to propose. Total, those reductions are about $7 billion. So about half of what the shortfall is. Separately, the Senate and House leadership and budget writers are also looking to make reductions, not cumulatively, so it wouldn't be additive. They're looking to make roughly $6 billion worth of reductions. So this leaves a pretty big gap, and that means that lawmakers are going to really have to work hard to find out how to make those reductions and then how to fill that gap potentially through new revenue sources. Some of those new revenue sources that we've identified, that they have identified that we will be evaluating, are employer payroll taxes, a surcharge on excessive executive compensation, a B&O surcharge, capital asset ownership, otherwise known as the wealth tax, a firearms tax, and self-service storage tax. So a lot to consider, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But first, let me tell you about the transportation budget. The transportation budget also has a very significant shortfall. That has about an $8 billion shortfall over the next 6 years. And there are talks about how to fill that shortfall. Some of the revenues that they're looking at are tire fees, weight fees, gas tax increases, rental car fees, tolling, even something like a bike tax, or looking creatively at how they assess the operating budget as well. So one thing I want to flag is that I have heard that there's no indication that there will be revenue from these new sources that would be used to buy anything new. This would be exclusively to patch what is existing. So I just want you to keep that frame of reference as we spoke about some projects that we were requesting funding if new revenue sources came around. We certainly hope to advocate for our projects, but I wanted to keep that context in mind. One thing I want to mention, your staff are fantastic. I use them every day. And as we look at at all of the budgets, we are looking at them through a lens of, in that small blue box, ensuring that state shared revenues currently distributed to local jurisdictions remain at existing levels, and consider whether the effects of budget proposals devolves state responsibility to local jurisdictions. So we're really trying to analyze what are the impacts to Bellevue. So as we are continuing to evaluate these proposals, we also know that there's not a formal rollout of the budgets, and there is not a formal rollout of revenue proposals. There's a lot of talk, but nothing that we can look at and take a fair assessment of this very moment. So we as staff are feeling like we want to have something or some kind of framework so that when these new revenue proposals come out, we can evaluate them based on a framework that could help us and help you. We have proposed and drafted this set of bullets to help guide us as we review those potential budget or revenue proposals. And so I'll walk through them pretty quickly as you read them on the screen. We're looking at weighing in or providing our feedback internally about sustainable strategies that demonstrate fiscal responsibility to support economic prosperity, maintain long-term competitiveness, foster innovation and growth, attract talent to the state and to local communities, strategies that are derived from less volatile or economic sensitive sources. We just heard about that today from the budget forecast or the revenue forecast. Promote fair competition amongst businesses without disproportionate impact on size or industry, and ensure jurisdictions and taxpayers can plan for their future. We can come back. I'd be happy to take your questions or thoughts on this after I finish one last slide. And this last slide is really gearing us for the conclusion of the legislative session. We still have lots of time, but we can start to see the end coming in sight. The revenue and economic forecast was released today. That means that legislators now can start fine-tuning their proposals, and we anticipate that the 3 budget proposals in the House and 3 budget proposals in the Senate will start to come out, we believe, on March 24th. After they are released, committee hearings will happen for those budget proposals, and our understanding is that the hearings will happen from March 24th to the 29th. We're already starting to hear that transportation budget hearing may happen on March 25th, so we're doing some advanced planning right now to prepare for that. There are also other key legislative milestones, and those policy and fiscal cutoffs are going to be very important, so we can not only focus our energy, but also the legislature can as well. The opposite chamber cutoff is on April 16th, and then, knock on wood, April 27th is on-time adjournment. That would be the 105-day session. If they do need to call a special session, that would happen after that date. So with that, I will be happy to take your questions.
All right, thank you for a very good presentation. I want to thank my colleagues for all the work they've done to support the Bellevue's legislative agenda. Councilmember Hamilton, shall we start with you?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Of course, great work on behalf of the city and Olympia this year. Very impressed with all the work your team is doing. I think we've had a very good overall team effort, as the mayor mentioned, so my colleagues and I have had the chance to directly and I think effectively promote the city's legislative priorities. And as you know, we're all aware, legislators need to, they have a fair amount of work to do and make some adjustments. Appreciate what our delegations in the 41st and 48th have done, and the governor's efforts as well. So even though they have faced some significant challenges, I think we still expect that they will listen to and support the modest funding requests that we have put forward. Be curious to, get your thoughts on the revenue forecast, and obviously if it's just a couple hours old, that may take a bit, but interested in hearing about that. You mentioned some of the revenue proposals, but I'm curious, even before the forecast today, are there some that are gaining a little more traction, getting a little more attention than others?
I would say what I have continually been hearing is that no revenue option is off the table. And so they really are evaluating all of the revenue options. And I have not heard consensus on a particular method or movement forward. And so, Genesee, if you have anything that you've heard, please weigh in.
That's an excellent question, Councilmember. I think we will know a lot more a week from now when we start to see the first proposals. The challenge, as Katie pointed out, is that because the revenue deficit or the budget shortfall between projected spending of existing programs and current revenues, because there's such a wide delta both in the transportation budget and in the operating budget, it would be really hard, for that to be closed with cuts alone. And so that is part of why you're seeing probably shaping up something that is both some amount of reductions or austerity coupled with some types of revenue tools. And I don't think we have a great sense right now about what is going to have that traction. And I frankly think there's a lot of active conversation among the majorities, because of course the Democrats have the majority both in both chambers and in the governor's office. But I think it's still hazy right now. What is going to galvanize enough people either within those caucuses or across the aisle to come up with a comprehensive solution. So I'm afraid it's early to tell still.
It does feel late in session, but it's early when it comes to budget negotiations. So there's a long time to go.
Okay, and along those lines with the budget negotiations, I know it gets busy, you know, there's all these deadlines, there's kind of this race to the finish line. But I'm hearing about a plan that in the negotiations, they're gonna kind of let this process get pretty far down the road. Our legislative leaders are gonna kind of come together, hammer out an agreement, and that then our legislators have just a little bit of time to actually contemplate, essentially kind of being forced into an up or down vote. Maybe that's just kind of standard conspiracy theory for how things go down there, but are you hearing that? Does that resonate at all?
I have heard similar rumors.
Okay.
I guess I would just add one little thing, which is that in my past experience down there, you kind of have two different groups, not to overgeneralize, but you have kind of two different teams that really start to shape up somewhere in the middle of the budget writing session. You have your budget leadership from all four corners, and then you have the people who've got to keep all the committee work going on all the bills that are still alive, that are continuing to evolve and get amended. And so the two count on each other to keep one another apprised. Here's how things are shaping up on our budget proposal, and they work inside their respective caucuses to try to keep the membership apprised, but they really work with a small negotiating team while everybody else works on the policy bills. So it's kind of working on kind of two parallel tracks, and they try to really keep them from getting too far out of alignment so that whatever the majority and minority brings forward, that the members are as read in as possible. I'm giving them a lot of the benefit of the doubt.
All right, well, I don't know, when you're having conversations, do you take issue with this kind of approach? Do we weave this into some of our meetings and communications with our legislators, asking for us to have an appropriate amount of time to weigh in?
I will not speak on their behalf, Councilmember, but I will say that that is exactly why we identified some framework so that we could start thinking through what would be the impact to not only the city of Bellevue, but also individuals who work, live, or play in Bellevue. And so I think that's an excellent point.
Okay, good. I appreciated slide 11. I think that the framework that you're mentioning, that makes a lot of sense to me. So once we go through this kind of analysis, will then we weigh in on kind of specific budget proposals, no to this, yes to that? Is that kind of the result of this analysis?
We do not have a specific legislative agenda that weighs in on the number of different revenue options that are available or being discussed, but that certainly is something that we will evaluate as staff and share not only with you on a regular basis, but if you would like updates, Genesee and I would be happy to come back.
Oh, that's great. So you had a little list of revenue options. I just am very concerned about the impact of potential revenue options on our residents, workers, and businesses. Once we evaluate proposals, I would like to see us strongly support those that meet our criteria, and I would like to see us work just as hard to defeat ones that we conclude will harm our community. Again, thanks for your effective advocacy on behalf of the city and our legislative priorities, and I look forward to hearing back from you and kind of supporting the effort as we get to the end of session. Thank you.
Councilmember.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Stokes.
You know, I think you covered it very well back and forth this conversation. How effective are we working on these evaluating revenue proposals, and what are these things that will really help us get things in line along the things we want to do?
That's a
Is
great
that the whole
question.
goal of that?
This will be a conversation that we have with staff from many different departments. And so we'll lean on not only folks in the FAM department, but also in other departments that would be impacted by this as well. So while we are in a place of anxiousness, waiting for those revenue proposals, I do feel like we have the team and a potential framework. We would advocate that we use this framework to assess those revenue options. And then just as a reminder also, that small little box that might be harder to read, we also have a way of evaluating reductions as well, because this is not only about revenue proposals for additions, but also the reductions that are being proposed as well. Great question, though.
Yeah,
Councilmember.
and we're still at a point where we don't really know what's going to come out of this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, so we're going to have to keep working on this for some more weeks. And so I really appreciate the way you laid this out and what we have, the way we work on this. And I know we're working very well with other cities and all. This is very important. It sounds like they're trying to do as much as they can, but is there any, do we have any factions that are really trying to get the revenue down to I mean, you have that, is it a real hard battle between people who want to get, not spend and those who need the money and want to spend it?
I think, Councilmember, I'll weigh in just to say that I know the current governor, Governor Ferguson, has been very strongly advocating a reductions approach before assessing new revenues. He has not come out in favor of new revenues, though I know that he's part of conversations with leadership from both the House and the Senate. And Genesee, if you have anything that you want to add.
I think, Councilmember, in all candor, I think this is going to be complicated for the legislators to resolve on time. I think it will potentially have many twists and turns between here and the end of session. We'll keep you really well apprised. But I don't feel like there is currently a narrative that is clear enough right now that we feel like it's going to be this or that. I think there really is a philosophical space between some of the legislative majorities and the new governor to try to resolve how much appetite or what type of appetite there is to try to close the gap that they're managing. I'm afraid that's unsatisfying.
Yeah, and that's the hardest time to be working on this and pushing what we want done in this. But it sounds like, well, one, appreciate the work you're doing on it. I think you're doing a great job, and I know we're getting our message across very well, but again, as you say, it's too early to say we're going to get this or that, so we just have to keep pushing. So what we have to do is support you and really help us. If we need to talk to people, we can do that. It sounds like we really have to keep ramping up to get this place going, but that's the way it works. And it is an odd session now with the change, with the governor's ideas and what's going on in the business world and everything. So it's a tough one, but you're doing a great job. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment. We were all advised that this was going to be a flat budget year. Bellevue was really careful not to add anything without taking something out. The state did a little bit differently.
Yes.
They added a lot.
Yes.
And now they have to think about what they might take out. But it also sounds like their projected revenues, even though they were projected to be flat at the state level, might even be decreased from that. I see John Risha in the audience here, and I'm curious, is our city, do we know if we're experiencing any similar forecast with our?
Well, I will just, not that I am an expert, and I invite John to come up, but I can say that one of the, let me see if I can jump to it. One of the bullets was very strategically included in this list. The sustainable strategies, and it's the fourth bullet down, I believe, are derived from less volatile or economically sensitive sources. And I just want to call out, I am certainly no expert, there's a reason why I am not John. Bellevue has been able to be nimble, and that's something that we'll be looking for when we assess these revenue options. So John, take it away. Save me from going down.
Wow, where do I start? Oh, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, thank you. So as it looks, we closed out 2024 within 2% of our forecast. We're in a solid position wrapping out 2024. We start this month to see January's revenues, so there's a 2-month lag to understand what happens. Our forecast anticipated both sales tax and B&O to be a slow growth. We don't have anything yet that tells us anything different. We won't for a little while, but there's a reason why we have an on-staff economist who spends a lot of time focused on this to help us help you make the best decisions. So we're really careful about that. We think about those aspects. We look at every revenue source. And quite frankly, the nimbleness of your ability to adjust as we go, and for our city manager to be able to make some really tough choices if we need to. But we're watching all of those things, including the impacts of tariffs on cost of doing business. So even if revenue stays where we anticipate it, making sure our buying power still has the ability to achieve what we meant to achieve. And so we're watching all of those factors.
That's great. Thank you for that information. And I'm sure, City Manager, you have us scheduled for a budget update at some point this year.
We do, will likely be around June when we
Okay.
actually see that budget or the revenue forecast.
Okay, thank you. So back to the legislative session. There was did you talk about the bat lane legislation? How's that going?
I didn't, and I'm so glad that you brought it up. It was something I wanted to reference in terms of some of our approaches even this week. So Councilmember Neuenhuis will be testifying in support of House Bill 1980. That would allow shuttles, employer shuttles, to be using bat lanes under certain conditions that would be agreed to with the transit provider. This would only be for King County, so it's very limited in its space and time. But we are very grateful to Councilmember Zahn and Representative Zahn for advancing this legislation in such a quick and nimble way. And so thank you for everyone's support on that. Feel really good about the direction that bill is going in.
I believe that the employers have to register to use those lanes, and I believe there's a fee involved also.
There is a permit process.
So that's
Yes.
great. Okay, that's all my
And
questions.
you will actually be hearing more about K-Line and how that relates next week. So that's a
All
little
right.
teaser.
Thanks for all you're doing. I know this is a really busy time for you both. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Genesee, Katie, and also our consultant. They work a lot in Olympia for your continued advocacy on behalf of our city. We throw complex work a lot. We use complex as a word a lot, but this is really, really complex. And you guys navigate that in a very, very good way, and I truly appreciate that. I think as a city, we should be really involved and be a key player in Washington and region, and your team is helping us to achieve that position. Whenever I'm in Olympia, I feel I'm very prepped. I know the topics, I know what we are advocacy for, and I can present that to our delegation. I also really thankful for this body. They all are supportive of and they are influencing our agenda, every council member, and of course our 41st and 48th delegation. The budget is coming, so we need to maintain the momentum and advocate for our infrastructure, housing, and your favorite digital transformation budget. I have two kind of statements. The only thing I have not seen in this agenda memo was more contingency plan. And I don't want to right now know all of them. If because of the budget is short, the major funding requests that we have for transportation, for affordable housing, if they are not fully met, beside the taxes and the revenue that we are talking about, what other contingency plan do we have? The private sector involvement that we have we are in the best place to have a strong corporate presence and use that. So those opportunities I would love to see more. This slide that you are having right now, I think is amazing. This is a very well thought process. And I think if we go through these 6 strategies that you put there, it's going to be kind of impossible to agree with any kind of revenue by having taxes. So I admire you for having this. I really encourage you guys to, when you are evaluating, keep us updated. I personally want to know, we talk about how Bellevue is in a great place. I think imposing any taxes that doesn't follow these 6 criteria is going to put us in not a place that we should be. So appreciate your effort and thank you for keeping us updated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, kudos for what you're doing with our state legislature, navigating through this very difficult, challenging time. I was just in Washington, D.C., talking to our congressional delegation, and under this right current, confusion, nobody knows what's going to happen. And so, we're depending on money from the government, federal government, obviously. And the state government's budget depends a lot on that. What we need depends on that as well. So my question is, how are you navigating through this very confused situation of, and so especially affecting your strategy? Deputy Mayor mentioned that. Yeah. I know you have to be nimble, but I think maybe you can have some conversation about some provisions. And the second point is, under the circumstance, we need to talk about regional collaboration, because under the situation, the more we are working together, the more we can have a united front and have more flexibility and complement each other. How do we maintain our financial posture without, being left on the side? So on those 2 questions, maybe you can just say a couple words.
I'd be happy to give it a start, and then Genesee, feel free. How are we navigating is such a great question, especially when information is changing so rapidly, or we are looking for information that doesn't quite exist yet. So there's a few different ways that we're trying to navigate. One is we're trying to prepare in advance. My motto is to prepare rather than to react. We're going to have to react, but what can we do to prepare ourselves for when we do have this information at our hands? So that's one of the first things that we've tried to do. Another thing that we've tried to do is really get our teams ready. And that team includes NLC, the National League of Cities. It includes the Association of Washington Cities, who are very closely aligned in terms of preparing for this. It includes putting some questions upon our lobbyists down in Olympia about asking not only the lobbyists who the city hires, but also the AWC lobbyists, how are you evaluating a budget proposal when we don't know for sure what the impacts could be from the federal government? So these are all questions that we're asking. At the same time, we're getting information from our federal delegation members as well, and asking questions about how we can be prepared, how we can proactively work on ensuring that those grant dollars are coming to the city of Bellevue, that we are working the channels that we need to ensure that the funds are being appropriated in the right ways. And I'll pass it to Genesee. I know that there's the second question about regional collaboration, so I'll come back to that.
Yes, we have to position ourselves so that, they are looking at us regionally.
Well, can I just respond to that one then before I pass it to Genesee? Because
Yes, please.
I love this.
Thank you for your team's work.
So I have to have a moment of just of joy, and I wish that she was here right now. But y'all, Lacey Jane Wolf started out this legislative session. We knew that there was going to be budget challenges, and so Lacey Jane put together a team of staff from up and down the entire I-405 corridor. She gets them together very regularly. The next meeting is next week. And they talk about what they're hearing with regards to the transportation budget. Now, that isn't being guided by our lobbyists. That is not being guided by WashDOT. That is not being guided by an association. That is being guided by the City of Bellevue staff, putting those coalitions together. That's just one example. We are doing it over and over and over again with other cities on the east side, but also cities throughout. I meet with other counterparts of mine every Friday, and we try to decide if there's bills that maybe putting together our heads together would be better than just having one person sticking their necks out. I'm really, really excited to keep moving in that direction of regional collaboration. And I think a lot of that goes to a lot of the work that you've done already and that we can just continue on.
I will piggyback on there to answer a little bit more of the kind of planning for the unknown, and it relates back to the deputy mayor's question a moment ago. When Katie and her team really start to dialogue with you in the fall about our state legislative priorities, one of the key things that we do is we work with our internal staff, including John and his department, to really be very clear-eyed about what we're asking for and how it relates to what we're budgeting for. So we want to make sure that while we want to leverage outside sources, we want to leverage federal grants, state appropriations, or community scale investments, those outside funding sources come with a small amount of risk because, some of the funding we got last year was contingent upon the outcome of an initiative. So there are some risks inherent in trying to leverage those outside sources. So we do a fair amount of contingency planning to say, okay, we're going to go ask for that funding. If we don't get it or we get a part of it, what does that mean to us? So we are doing that work well in advance of session to know, hey, if we go out, and we won't know for months, right? We make that agenda in October. We don't get an end to the session until March, April, May, or June. In the meantime, we want to keep planning ahead. And so we we have a very collaborative internal process to make sure that we are thinking about the risk that is involved and calibrating for how to manage for that. If, that funding, say for the Grand Connection, doesn't come together, we're not counting on it. Yeah, we're trying to be really strategic and conservative about what we're planning for, so that then when we pull that money in, if we are successful, which is what we're working for often in a coalition effort, that's able to have a really excellent benefit on our financial portfolio, but we never count on it without a backup plan. So I just want to make sure that that we never go down there kind of with a Hail Mary. There's always kind of a really thoughtful plan A and a contingency plan if we get some kind of phased or partial or sometimes delayed funding from the state or somewhere else. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councilmember Newhouse.
Thank you, and I appreciate the great comments and questions by my colleagues. I won't take too much time, but I do want to say thank you so much for tracking this so well, for the reports and my occasional text messages about what's the latest on this bill or that bill. So thank you for daylighting the great work that Lacey Jane is doing. Get to work with her obviously closely on a lot of transportation stuff, and the group that she put together on the 405 corridor is really great. Also appreciate my colleagues also advocating for all the important bills that are important to Bellevue. Across the spectrum, it's just really important, and it's great and important that we do that as a team. Also really appreciate slide 11 here. The only problem is that every revenue proposal that I've seen so far would not meet this standard. And this is not hyperbolic, I'm scared to death about what some of these proposals might mean for Bellevue. I mean, just as an example, the statewide payroll tax, that would mean we would lose a very strong competitive advantage, not just Bellevue, Kirkland, Redmond as well. This B&O tax on companies of more than $500 million, to me, this is targeted at successful, large tech companies that would impact some of our biggest employers here in Bellevue. So it's been asked, and I know that you're already going to be coming back to us, keeping us apprised of this, but I think in the interest of protecting Bellevue's interests of our residents, our business community, and just the health of our city, as well as the revenues that we're taking in, I think the sooner the better when you see traction on some of these proposals to let us know, and then let us know what the impacts could be. I think some of them are very clear, but I think there might be others as well that might not be immediately known, but could hurt us in some very significant ways. So with that, again, thank you so much for your great work, and look for additional updates as we go along here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Okay, so on the agenda is a written report. It's in the packet for Intergovernmental Affairs Monthly Update, which I encourage everybody to read. And now the council is going to be recessing to executive session to discuss the qualifications of candidates for appointment to elective office pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1H for approximately 45 minutes. Sorry to tell you that. We will return after our executive session to potentially take action on our appointment to City Council Position 5. And so we will see you in 45 minutes. And even if we finish in 5 minutes, we can't come back for 45 minutes. So it's just, once we say that, that's the way it is. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for your patience. Well, we all agree that we had 5 amazing candidates. So we had 20 candidates in total and picked out the 5 top. And it was a very, very tough decision, very, very close amongst everybody. And I want to thank everybody for their work and their efforts in applying. And I want you to know that if you're not selected tonight, there's an election in November, and you're all invited to run. Just don't run against me or Conrad or Jared. But anyway. You didn't hear that. We can't talk about elections up here. Okay. And so we have a motion to make, and I'm going to ask the deputy mayor to make a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to appoint Claire Somadaveria to position 5 on the Bellevue City Council effective April 1, 2025, and contingent upon Councilmember Zahn's resignation on March 28.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Congratulations, Claire. Welcome. Welcome in April to the council. And again, thank you, everybody. Please stay involved. Keep up all the good work. That's what makes our community so special here in Bellevue. And I believe with that, we are adjourned.